Hey everyone, my name is Justine, the Growing Gardener, and it's the end of April, which means for those of us in Zone 3, we have about a month left before our last frost date. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to get my hands dirty in the garden this summer. It is still very brown where I am. The trees have barely started to bud, the grass is still brown, and there's actually snow on our forecast for tomorrow. So those of you in the same zone as me, you know the deal. April, there could be snow. May, there could be snow. But hopefully this is the last of it. I'll be starting some of our squash, our gourds, and our melons for the summer, and I thought I would just share some of the varieties that I'm planning to grow. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be growing are Burgess squash. I actually got these seeds from a coworker last year. Some of my colleagues and I started a garden club at work, so we had a seed exchange last year, and this is one of the varieties that I got. My colleague said it's her favorite squash, and she's like a pretty avid gardener, so I had to give it a try. They kind of look a little bit like an acorn squash, kind of, but they're a smaller squash, but man, were they good. So I'm definitely going to grow a few of these this year. Because they were just so tasty. So if you saw my flower video the other day, you might have seen that I started all those seeds in 1-inch cells. But because squash don't like to have their roots disturbed, I tend to grow all my squash in larger pots. So by the time that these are ready to go in the ground, they're not pot bound in any way, so their roots don't get disturbed. And I don't have to pot them up again after I plant them, which is also really nice. I ran out of labels, so I'm using painter's tape and a permanent marker. I really like growing squash in the garden. I think it's one of my favorite things to grow. I just love how lush the garden looks when you have a bunch of squash just growing all intertwined with one another. I just think it looks so pretty. All right, so I've been wanting to grow loofah squash forever. Ever since I learned that loofahs were actually squash, I wanted to grow them. So I've tried, I think last year was my first year trying to grow them, and I had pretty good success germinating the seeds, no issues there. I think I might have started the plants a little bit too early. So they were quite, I don't want to say large, because they were quite stringy actually, but they're bigger than I wanted them to be. So I might have disturbed the roots a little bit, but they did not like being transplanted. And they really didn't do much after they were transplanted. And then on top of that, we also had cutworms last summer, and the cutworms got to the loofahs. So the ones I started were damaged by the cutworms, and then I just tried putting some seeds into the ground and wanted to see what would happen, and those seeds did germinate, but because these gourds need, I don't even know if it says how long these need. I think they need quite a long season to grow, so, and our seasons just aren't long enough without starting them indoors, so that's why I wanted to start these early. And then hopefully I'll have some luck this year. Because as I said in my last video, I just recently got into soap making, and I would love to make some soaps with homegrown loofah sponges. I think that would be really cool. So fingers crossed that this year these work out. It's actually a little strange. Last year when I bought these seeds, I think they were black. And these ones are white. Maybe they're a different variety. Weird. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I'll put these in my hand so maybe you can see. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but these ones are white this year. I wonder if that means they're just a different variety. I think I have my seeds from last year somewhere too, so maybe I'll go look for those ones. And then no garden is complete without butternut squash, right? I grow these every year, and I've actually been able to keep these. So once I grow them and then pick them off the vine once they're ripe and then harden them off in the sun, I've actually had butternut squash last us a year, which is great if you know, you're growing your garden to really feed your family. Having a vegetable or a gourd that's going to last that long is really impressive. And then you have a little bit of summer in the dead of winter. So for these ones, I'll probably only do two containers here. And then I have some new varieties that I have never grown before. So this is lemon squash from Baker Creek. So for these ones, I'll probably do, maybe I'll do two. So I have a decent sized garden, so I am able to grow quite a few squash. But this year and last year, I experimented with growing vertically. So I have an arched trellis in the garden right now, just a single one, but I'm gonna buy another cattle panel and grow some more squash. So a few different varieties. I think I'll do 2 varieties per cattle panel. And that way it just gives me more space in the garden to grow everything else. And then, next, this is another variety from Baker Creek. So I have the Gelber Englisher custard. I don't know if it's Gelber or Gelber. But yeah, this is a new to me variety. It's a patty pan variety of squash. And so the description here is a unique variety from Germany. I'm just going to say from Germany. It's a clear yellow or clear lemon yellow patty pans with a bizarre twist. Fruit is oddly flattened, flavorful, and prolific. So it's really prolific. I'm not sure how many I should do, but maybe I'll just do 2. You can never have too many squash, right? So, I mean, you can if you're like me and grew 6 different zucchini plants last year, you know that you can definitely have too many squash. And then I've seen so many people plant these. It's the cuckoozy gourd. I've seen so many people grow these on their arch trellises and they look so cool. So I decided to give these one to try this year. But these are a new to me variety as well. You can tell that I went a little bit crazy on the seed buying this summer. But I figured if we're gonna be on lockdown again, which I'm hoping we aren't, but just in case, I want to have a really, big and exciting garden this summer. So I want to try a bunch of different things. Oh, these seeds are really cool. I don't know if you'll be able to see these. I might come up closer so you can. Get a load of those. These seeds are just so neat. I love coming across cool seeds. All right, those ones are done. So I'm totally a sucker for cool varieties of plants. So this is a birdhouse gourd, and I don't think it's meant to be eating. It's just meant kind of for decoration, and as the name implies, you can make birdhouses out of them, which I'm definitely gonna do. Oh, these are cool seeds too. They look very similar to the cuckoozy squash, or to the cuckoozy gourd seeds. That's really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 of these as well. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna grow are these Kajari melons. I'm probably gonna do 3 pots of these. I love growing melons. Last year we had quite a good melon haul, but we had really bad wasps last year. So anytime that we had a melon that was about to get ripe, the wasps got to it. And same thing with my raspberries. The wasps got to a lot of my raspberries before I did, which is always so sad because you get to watch it ripen on the vine for, weeks and weeks, and then when you know it's ready, the wasps already know it's ready. So hopefully I can beat the wasps this year, or I think I'm gonna try to figure out a way to cover the melons so that the wasps can't get to them. I'll have to look into something. So next I'm gonna grow some honeydew melons. These are just green flesh is the variety. I grow these every year. They're my husband's favorite melons, so these are a must-have in our garden. And to be honest, there's nothing quite like biting into a warm from the sun ripe honeydew melon. They're so sweet and so juicy. It's really no wonder the wasps get to them before I do. And then last but not least, I am just gonna do classic pumpkins. I do these every year, and I usually get like 10 to 12 pumpkins with, 3 to 4 seeds, from 3 to 4 seeds. And every year my husband and I have a big Halloween party. And we, instead of doing bring your own pumpkin, we provide everyone with pumpkins. So this is just kind of a tradition that we've kept over the last few years. So I always gotta do a couple pumpkins. Last year I did try to do giant pumpkins, but because we got a late frost that ended up killing a lot of my veggies, it didn't actually kill the giant pumpkin that I had planted, but I think it had stunted it. So it didn't grow that big. It did produce one pumpkin, but it was no bigger than a regular pumpkin that you would like get at the supermarket around Halloween time. So it definitely wasn't giant by any means. And this year, because I have so many different varieties of squash and melons and gourds that I'm gonna be growing, I just don't think I have the space to do a giant pumpkin, but I really do wanna try one year to go for a really big one. I think that would just be so fun to do. But I don't think it's gonna be something that we do this year. I'm gonna try out all of these new to me varieties, see how they go, and then next year I'll kind of pick and choose which ones I wanna continue growing. And then I'll plant those ones and then do a giant squash. Or a giant pumpkin, I should say. So this video focused, mostly on our squash, our gourds, our melons, but if you're in zone 3, there are plenty of things that you can actually start to plant outdoors right now. So you can do your carrots, your beets, your greens, you can direct sow poppies if you're wanting to grow some flowers. So you can start to get outside and get your hands dirty right now, which is so exciting. And before we know it, we're gonna be in the middle of summer. We're gonna be picking our veggies. Oh, it's just gonna be so good. I'm so excited. But yeah, that's the video for today. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.